Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robin Sullivan, and I'm here with some virtual colleagues who will talk to you today about the Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success initiative through SUNY. And Nicole is manning her slide, and we'll let her introduce herself when we get there. If I can go to the next slide, Nicole, please. So the project has a really long name. The formal name is Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success. The short part that you can remember, we call it MTech. So if you just go to the project website, suny.edu/MTech, and that's EMTECH, that will get you to the project and to many of our slides and other recordings. I'm also going to give everybody, take at least 2 or 3 cards, share with a friend, take some of my business cards. But this is something, these cards have the URL on them, so you can keep this handy whenever you have an urge to learn, or if you have a colleague, point them that way. Okay, next slide. So my name, I also have a long name, Roberta Robin Sullivan for short. Everybody calls me Robin. If you have to find me at UB's directory, you have to use my formal name, Roberta, but everybody calls me Robin. I'm a teaching and learning strategist, fancy name for an instructional designer, through our university libraries. My contact information is up on the screen. My email, rrs@Buffalo. You're all getting my card. If you have questions afterwards, want to follow up, please do so. And I'm going to let my colleague Cherie introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Cherie Van Putten. I'm an instructional designer at Binghamton University, and I've been involved with this project and its predecessor, Tools of Engagement, for what has it been, Robin, like 7 years now, or is it more?
We're close to 10.
Wow. Gosh, I feel old. Okay, that's it for me.
Hi, everyone. Nicole Simon from Nassau Community College. I teach in the Engineering Physics Technology department. So I teach STEM courses, and I'm also an instructional designer and a tech specialist. And I've been with Tools of Engagement and MTech for a couple of years, going through as a fellow and now on the other side of the house.
And Nicole will very likely take over the role of director as soon as, I'm probably going to be taking retirement from UB pretty soon, and Nicole is taking the steps to step in. And her colleague, Chris, is also a faculty member at Nassau Community College. He's not able to join us here today on the call. Nicole, do you want to introduce Chris, what her role is at Nassau?
Sure. Chris Marchese is an associate professor in the business administration department, and she teaches business courses and HR. And she has also been part of the MTech program for a while. She deals with taxonomy and going through what we're going to show you with our MTech project, how to really structure it properly so that there's a logical flow and it makes it easier for all of you to be able to use the project, both as the wiki and the MOOC.
And Cherie alluded that the project's kind of been in place for 10 years. Shu Fong from SUNY Cortland has also been involved at the very beginning stages. MTech is one of the very original IITG projects from the very first round that was started here at CIT over breakfast, so don't discount those breakfast conversations. And they can build into something really wonderful. So I'm going to give you an introduction to this project, and we're going to have some hands-on time to play and to consider how can this be used in relation to your work, in the relation to your work at your campuses, and far beyond that. Next slide, please. Cherie, this is you. Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just took me a while to hit my my unmute button. So basically, what this project helps with is there are so many tools to choose from. There's varying quality, and they have varying purposes, and it's really hard, I think, for the average person who isn't like the person who likes to go and try out new tools to actually find one that works. there's a lot of things to consider, and I think other people will get into that as the slides progress. But the basic thing is how do we know what to choose? And not only now with what we already have in the program, but down the road when they're out on their own or they need to look for something different than what's available to them.
So this might also be a good chance. I'm just going to stop you for a second, Sheree. I would love to hear, since we are such a small group, who are you and what's your role at your campus? And maybe just, how do you choose the tools that are helping to educate students? So, Shufang, I'm going to have you go first.
Okay, I'm Shufang Strauss from SUNY Cortland. So I teach the technology integration course to the pre-service teachers and also service teachers, how to integrate technology in the elementary classrooms. How do I choose? Always learning. I felt that I'm never ahead. I'm always behind. One thing is that I often go to the elementary classrooms to see what they are doing there. So that's one factor. What's going on really there in the field? That helps.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sheree and Nicole, can you hear okay? Or do we need to use our outside voices more when we're talking from the audience?
I can hear. I'm good.
I heard her, as long as people do speak up.
Hello, Sheree.
Great.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie. I'm from Genesee Community College. I'm a vet tech instructor, and my students recommend technology to me.
Okay, great. Great. How about in the back row? Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Suryati Abbas. I go by Su Abbas. I'm from SUNY Oneonta, and I'm an assistant professor teaching Intrinsic courses. However, I have been exploring different use of technologies in my online classes as well as my in-person instruction courses. So I would choose, a tool that I feel that doesn't pick up too much of technological or technical skills, and something that I could integrate seamlessly into the assignments that doesn't feel daunting, but it also adds on to an additional layer of meaning, which is like my assignments are not just text driven, but it comprises of multiple modes, allow students to also express themselves using either visual, text, audio, or video. So something that is simple, something is manageable, that doesn't take up too much of the time.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, I missed, what discipline are you teaching?
Literacy.
Literacy. Okay, great. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Gina Solano. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, how are you?
Looks like you can just see the back of the wall. So I'm Gina Solano from SUNY Oneonta, and I teach in the Educational Technology Master's Program. And so I am everything ed tech.
Okay.
I've taught previously elementary to K-12 and higher ed tech courses. I teach doctoral educational technology courses as well for another adjunct place stuff. And so I'm always looking and evaluating new technology. I love technologies that are, like Suri said, simple to use. So some of my favorites are Adobe Express, because you have to find tools that are free and that allow you to do multiple projects. So when you're having students do different things like digital storytelling, creating videos, web pages, designing graphics, they can just use one tool and do multiple things with it. Canva is also another favorite of both of ours that allows multiple projects and multiple uses of it. And then when I'm designing assignments, I use different types of technologies, and I'm really pushing their different skills. So we're integrating lots of different things. So a discussion post is not just text, because that's one dimensional. So they're always including designing graphics for it, or using their Bitmoji, or creating videos and different things. And my philosophy is anything but PowerPoint. Microsoft is last century, and it's time to move forward with new projects. So I'm always dabbling in things. I use a lot of social media, so all of my students are on WhatsApp, and I teach all day.
Okay.
And they're in study groups as well, so they have online support. They have a peer group that they can go to for any type of, so that it's not an isolated experience online.
Communication.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Thank you. And you said your name is Gina?
Gina Solano.
Yeah. Solano. Hi.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Colleen Kaminsky. I'm from Corning Community College. I get my technology from faculty members, get ideas of what they're using in the classroom. And then I see Nicole up there. I recently started trying to rekindle COIL on our campus.
Excellent.
So
Yes.
Hope and Nicole and people have given me different technologies we can use.
Yeah,
as well.
remind me when we get to the categories to point out the COIL category, virtual
Okay.
exchange. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Laura from Onondaga Community College in Syracuse. I'm the academic technologist, but mostly I work right now with the LMS, specifically due to the DLE. And I'm more or less the holder of the toolbox, so that when a faculty member comes to me and says, I want to try and do something, I can go to that toolbox and say, okay, you can try this, this, or this. So I really take advantage of, the work that other people have done and successfully used. So most of what I use is by word of mouth.
And hopefully this will help your toolbox
Yeah,
in
I
the
hope so.
future. Hi.
Hi, my name is David Ecker. I run Innovation and Entrepreneurship Facilities at Stony Brook. I'm also an adjunct in Honors College, undergraduate college, and in School of Business. I bring technology into the classroom, and I wanted to see what other technology tools I could bring.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Chris, can you introduce yourself? as
Oh,
well?
sure. My name is Chris
So-
Madurick. I'm a professor of Geographic Information Systems at SUNY Cortland and also a UB grad.
Excellent.
And I one thing that I try to do is try to steal from other disciplines. So a lot of my work encompasses environmental science and history and a variety of other aspects. So I sort of try to steal these ideas that other people share at other conferences, which happens. The other thing I teach is intro to programming, Python scripting. And so I'm always on the lookout for things that are like reasonable for people to kind of like learn basics of coding.
Okay, great, thank you. Sounds like we've got a nice diverse group and people that are trying to find the technologies that will help them meet their teaching goals. And that's exactly what MTech is for, to help you find the technologies that will help you meet the objectives that you want to see in your students. So Cherie, thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? And Cherie,
Okay, so basically, what this is it's discovery learning, where you get an opportunity to explore and reflect. And then we also encourage people to be creating things as they go through and they use these emerging technologies. And that's the hashtag up there as well. So, and basically this is targeted to anyone. Now we did do a major push, to try to get all the SUNY campuses, and we market it to faculty. We want faculty to use it in their classrooms. We think it is something that's very helpful for students because it teaches them career competencies. We feel it increases people's marketability as far as changing careers. And it just helps people become better, more digitally informed citizens, because it teaches them, there's a section that teaches them how to discern truth in what they're reading online, and how to judge what sources are good sources and maybe which ones they should avoid. And it also helps connect people as society is more and more networked into each other. And so and it has something for everyone, from very, very beginner users that are just getting started to people that are more advanced.
So the MTech project is broken down into two portions. So the first one, hashtag MTech MOOC, is a Coursera MOOC that provides a supportive learning environment. It's obviously an online learning environment, but it's designed for, as Cherie said, learners of all levels. And it's there so that, you can hopefully, as with all MOOCs, there's an understanding that you finish them, but certainly it's there as a resource to guide you through. And it's modulated into several different parts. And as you go through the MOOC, you're able to learn about each of the different aspects, which I'll get to in a minute, of the project, take a look at exploring some of the technologies associated with that, and then test your resource skills. And then hopefully at the end, create an e-portfolio that really highlights and showcases all of the information that you've learned. And since we're all different areas, and I think that's wonderful. I usually tell people who are going either into the education field or educators ourselves that when you're going through the MOOC, when you're taking a look at the technology tools, I know it's like a kid in a candy store. You just want to try everything. At first, try to hone some of your tech skills and hone some of your resources to what's really going to help your students, what's really going to help you as an educator. And then once you have a little bit more free time, certainly go down that rabbit hole and explore everything and anything. I think sometimes it can be a little overwhelming with all the different technology tools out there. We don't want it to be overwhelming. We want to kind of corral what it is that we're looking for and really curate the best tools out there.
Excuse me a second. A MOOC, it stands for Massive Open Online Course. And SUNY has partnered with the Coursera MOOC platform a number of years ago. And there are, I would say, 100 or so SUNY MOOCs. And that just means it's a platform, a learning management system, very much like Brightspace and Blackboard. But the Coursera system actively markets across the world. And we will get you to the point of telling you our statistics. But so far in the close to 5 years, we have 31,000 people who have registered for MTech. And it's we try to make our MOOC a little not stereotypical. So many MOOCs are geared towards some of the higher sciences, and they are very content driven, where there's course lectures and then followed by learning activities. The MOOC that we have is much more active. So you go in, you enroll, and you go through the content, but they're short 3-minute videos. You see Chris Price, if anybody recognizes him. We have speakers from all over SUNY, students, faculty, and staff, talking about how do you use these emerging technologies in a very ethical and effective way. And so then once you go through the MOOC, then Nicole is going to introduce you to the other half of our project, which is MTech Wiki. And you're going to kind of go back and forth between the course and then the Wiki database, which has over 500 freely available tools, tutorials, and resources that are searchable by learning objective. Question?
No, it's amazing.
Great. Hey, keep going, Nicole.
So when we take a look at what we're trying to do with the MOOC, we really want to focus on the lifelong learning and the 4 C's of 21st century skills: communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And the MOOC is, again, modulated out in each of those different areas for that reason. So as you move throughout the MOOC, you're learning about how we can communicate with students using emerging technologies, and then how we can collaborate with those students, how we can be more creative with those students, and how we can get them to think critically. And it really scaffolds the learning process. So it not just scaffolds it for us as educators, but it really scaffolds so that there's student learning in there as well. So when you go through each of the modules, you can focus on using our wiki, using those technology tools, those emerging tools that really correspond to each of the 4 different areas. You can certainly mix and match. It's designed so that every time you start to search and curate new emerging technologies, you can change the filters, but the modules in the MOOC are really designed to kind of focus in on those 4 areas. Another nice aspect of having the MOOC modularized, you can bring your students in. I would say anywhere from the upper high school grades all the way up through undergrad and into graduate level courses. Students can really go into the MOOC, learn about emerging technologies, learning about those 21st century skills, and really honing their skills on using the best emerging technology skills and tools for their discipline.
And excuse me, just one second. So we have had a number of faculty throughout the SUNY system that have adopted either a single module, a couple modules, or the entire MOOC and assigned it to their students as part of their course assignments. Just trying to get them to think, a little bit beyond the standard tools. How might you create a story to tell the content that you're trying to share with others? And so if anybody wants to learn more about that, we have another video on our website that's from those few of those faculty on how they've done that. But we'll keep going on this thread here. Thanks, Nicole. Keep going.
So what are we trying to do with the MTech project? Whether you're doing the full-scale MOOC, where you're taking modules of it, or you're just taking a look at the wiki to use those resources. We're really trying to show growth in mindset about learning about digital literacy skills and media literacy skills, not just as an educator, but then we can continue bringing it back to our students. We want to create a digital footprint and an identity that is both safe and secure. We want to build information literacy skills, again, both digital and through media literacy. We want to teach everybody about Creative Commons and what that has to offer. The wiki is an OER resource. It's there for people to share. In fact, all of our information is there for sharing. But we also want to teach people it's not just about what you can go and quote, kind of steal from one another and share out. We want to be able to teach you about Creative Commons and why it is such a useful resource. And that's why the wiki was designed using the Creative Commons license. We want to be able to share that resource and have people share back. It's a whole culture of bringing more information out to the world. We also want to teach you about accessibility, what it means to be accessibility from universal design from learning perspective, and also what it means for accessibility worldwide. As Carolina mentioned earlier, she's working with COIL, which stands for Collaborative Online International Learning. It's a SUNY initiative. We want to also make sure that we're building out tech resources and emerging technology resources that are accessible in other countries, accessible as far as bandwidth, accessible as far as language. So there's a whole culture of what accessibility means. We want to make sure that we are teaching and learning about digital privacy and security and why it is so paramount in today's world. So the MOOC really teaches you about all of these aspects. When I get to the wiki, you can see how we can actually really hone in on a lot of these areas. So throughout the entire MOOC, we have our learning process where we are reading and viewing and participating with the course materials, again, through each of those different 4 modules. And you're learning short bits of information, you're watching tutorials, you're assessing your knowledge as an educator, and you're going out and learning about different emerging technology tools and resources that you can bring back to your class. This is done by exploring the wiki tools and resources. And those wiki tools and resources are in conjunction with MOOC. It's over, like Robin said, over 500 available tools. And I will say available because some of them are free, some of them are freemium. Premium meaning that they're low cost. I'd say the majority of them, about 2/3 of them, are actual resources, meaning tech tools, and then 1/3 of them are websites and resources through video media.
So something like how to create effective students. What are effective ways to frame video and do web conferencing and learn about lighting. So they're not all tools, about 2/3 tools, 1/3 resources. How do you evaluate content to make sure that it is truthful and accurate and not biased? So it's not all tools, but a majority are tech tools.
Once you've learned about the material for each of those 4 C's, then you're going to, again, explore the wiki and the tools and the resources, and then complete the discovery exercises. Again, assessing your knowledge on that competency skill, how you can bring it back to your students and for your class, and really what it is that you're wanting to curate as an educator. And then sharing the artifact. We do invite you to reflect using the portfolio. It's a wonderful way to showcase your knowledge. It's a wonderful way to learn about ePortfolio. So not only have you learned about all of the resources in the MOOC using the wiki resources, but now you can build a new portfolio to share out with your students, your college, your community. When you're sharing your artifacts, you're really just taking a look at, okay, so I've learned about communication and how I can communicate with students, maybe in a hybrid platform or an online platform. Which resources did I use? How did I use them? And you're sharing them in an ePortfolio by just writing a little summary and showing a demonstration of your skill set. This allows you to earn badges, because who doesn't love their digital badges, right? It allows you to earn those digital badges that are micro-credentialed to show that you've learned about digital resources, information literacy, and certainly those tech skills.
Right now, you guys is kind of hiding the words. It says badges and Coursera Certificates of Completion. So when you get through the entire 5 modules of the MOOC, it takes about 5 hours. If you're into digging and finding the tools, and we ask that you create something in each of the different modules. So if you're in the communication module, you might, create a QuickTime video, and then you'll put that video in your portfolio. The wiki that we will show you has about 40 different ePortfolio tools that can create a website. So in GIS, you might have your students create a website about the beautiful waterways around here. And they can, as they're going through the MOOC, you can have them pull tools to create some kind of artifact that will highlight maybe, how can you show the map with an overlay between, what's the water like today and what's the water like tomorrow, or whatever your discipline is. Thanks, Nicole. So why does anybody want to bother with this course? What's the rewards for the learners? Well, if you go through the course, or if your students or if your faculty go through the course, or if you go through the course, at the end, you can have a personal portfolio that you can continue to build upon. You will also be able to earn a Coursera Certificate of Completion and digital badges through SUNY. And we hope the biggest reward that you gain is the intrinsic rewards of being a lifelong learner. The very first module in the MOOC is all about lifelong learning. How do you, because technology changes so rapidly, we can't just teach one tool and expect that to go for the rest of their life. It's one tool, and we're lucky if it goes through the end of the year. So how do you say, okay, I'm a lifelong learner, I'm going to transfer my principles, what I understand about using these different types of tools, to the next tool that will help me meet my specific objectives? Yes, Tina.
Sorry, I didn't.
Please, can
I
I
ask
love
questions?
questions?
Okay.
Yes.
Are the digital badges hosted on Accreditable or Badger or?
These
Credly?
are hosted on Credly. They
On
are through the
Credly,
SUNY CPD Credly system, and very first badges offered through SUNY. One of the very first badges that are tied together with a Coursera MOOC, IBM and Google, I think, are two other Coursera MOOCs that also offer badges. Our MOOC is also one of those exceptions. Just been having some side conversations. Coursera asking SUNY's advice. So if we want to use those badges instead of just that plain paper certificate, because there's a lot more to badges than meets the eye. This is not a session about that, but when Kathy Gradle, a fellow colleague from SUNY, first told us we should consider using a digital badge instead of just a certificate, I said, oh, faculty don't care about those gold stickers. Badges are much more than a gold sticker. They are a visual representation, but if that was my Credly page and you clicked on my MTech completer badge, it would bring you to the portfolio that I created, showing you exactly what I did to earn this.
Right.
And it would connect you to the competencies that I manage. It would show that it was definitely issued by SUNY. I didn't just pick up this gold star off the floor. So there's a lot to those digital badges. Yeah. Good question. Next slide, please. So the other half of the project, so we keep saying, there's this MOOC half, and then there's this wiki half. The wiki is a database of freely available technology tools, tutorials, and resources. It is available at that website. You don't have to enroll in the MOOC if you don't want to. You can just use this as your bookmark. Whenever you need to create something, go to the site and search through it. It is used through the MOOC to complete the exercises, but it's also available as a separate standalone resource. Next slide. This is a blow up of the wiki. We're going to have you load it up on your phones, or I got a couple devices here we can load. But basically, when you come to this page from the MOOC, it takes those 500 resources, and if it says, if you're coming from the creativity module, it then takes all the 500 resources that, like, which ones will help you be creative? And it starts narrowing them down. And then you can go to that objectives filter and say, okay, what are the, so if I'm in communication collaboration, what's the objective that I'm trying to achieve? If I'm trying to share information, it'll narrow it down even further. And if this other category here are those big emerging technology categories. I'll read off a couple of them. Accessibility. very important. So if you're trying to understand how to make something accessible, how to caption something, how to make a PDF be able to be accepted through a screen reader, you can go to that section. There's audio, blogs and wikis. I'm not going to read them all. E-portfolios, gamification, there's a lot in there. Lifelong learning, just how to be a lifelong learner. A lot of nice TED Talks they're curated. Photos, images, if you just need to improve your syllabus by putting in some very diverse images that represent the entire body instead of the standard stock photos. There's some great collections in there. Resource libraries, there's libraries similar to MTech. Simulations is a great section. 3D printing. Use your smartphone to take a 360 video and then make it an interactive tour. All kinds of really great stuff. Social media and video is probably the most used category.
You have XR, you have VR.
XR, VR is under simulations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And you can also sort by highest rated and sort by popularity. People don't see our rating system very well, so we're redesigning that right now, so that the crowdsourcing will really come into play when you can see, okay, the rest of the world thinks this is the best out of these choices. Next, please. So this is a wiki. Wiki stands for a website that others are invited to contribute to. So if you go to the project website, you hit the contribute menu, you can then log in as a separate login. It would be great if we had one login for the world, but not yet. And then once you log in, you can add a new tool, or if you just found a typo, instead of writing me a paragraph, go in and fix the period, or whatever the case might be. You can modify tools, add more links to, here's a tutorial on how to use Canva that I really enjoy. You can add it right to the record. It's a moderated wiki. So one of the MTech team will see the record come in and will say, oh, that's great, or maybe we have to add a period or something like that. And we can then approve it and put it up live. Thank you. And if you do wish to contribute, you can also, if you look at the guidelines, you can also earn a badge just for contributing to the wiki. Next, please. So we are continually trying to do continual improvement. These are some of the things that we are working on. I'm happy to see that Chris did make it in to join us. Her talk about assessments will come up in a little bit, but she's also the person who's helping us improve our taxonomy, because it's really hard to categorize and make sure all the words are pointing to the right resource. So we're always trying to improve that. We added special interest groups. So we want to be able, we are in the process of we added COIL, but we also want to address the needs of K-12 instructors. So when we built this, we built it with higher ed in mind. So we don't have resources such as, Math Rocket or things that might be specific to K-12 students, but a K-12 instructor would certainly find a ton of value in the 500 resources we have. But we do want to, we've received an NEA grant recently that we are trying to work towards improving that aspect. So we want to add that as another filter to search through. And we also, probably the biggest challenge that we face is, even though accessibility is a major category of what we try to teach, all of those 500 tools have not yet been vetted for accessibility yet, right? So that's kind of the growth mindset. I haven't learned it yet. We haven't categorized them yet, but we are working on categorizing and labeling all of the tools and resources for their accessibility, also for their security and privacy, and their global availability. And we have a COIL student from Venezuela who's been interning with us, and he's been doing a really great job at helping us with some of those and starting to collect a database just on that information alone. Thank you. Next, please. Here's some e-portfolio examples. I'm not going to go into them, but if you go on the MTech site, you can look at the portfolios for yourself. Just examples, we have faculty and staff and students from all over who are creating their portfolios and just working alongside with people from all over the country. It's really very interesting to some of the research that we've done on the posts that people have made, the thing that comes up very often is people learn most by reading and learning from the experience of others. So if you're, creating something using an infographic, I might not know what an infographic is, but I'm learning by reading your portfolio about it. Next, please. So MTech is free for the entire world, and we want to keep it that way as much as we can. Full access to the course is available for anybody, minus the certificate and badges. Anybody that is affiliated with SUNY, because SUNY helped build this, you all have the special in that if you go to the website that says enroll with your SUNY email, you can enroll, get everything for free, and you get the certificate and the badges at no cost. Others who are not with SUNY or do not have a special promotion that they can follow, there is a $29 cost to get the certificate and badge, but they can do everything else for free. We are going to be raising it to $39 in the near future. We've run out of grant money. And actually, hopefully, Nicole's been busy writing our next grant that we will get funded for. But for now, we are, just a lot of goodwill, a lot of great volunteer effort from the folks you see on the screen. But so anybody in SUNY and also anybody in New York State, there's a couple of states, New York, Tennessee, Minnesota, who their governor Cuomo made an agreement with Coursera to say anybody who is underemployed, not unemployed, underemployed, can take any Coursera MOOC at no cost. So who here thinks they could have a better employment? Is there anybody that says no? So everybody in New York can also sign up and get the badges and certificates to any Coursera MOOC or specialization at no cost. And Coursera is constantly doing other promotions. They work with companies, L'Oreal and John Deere and Google. They all have different ways to get in. So these 21st century digital literacy skills are crucial for pretty much everybody. And the next grant that we are putting forward is for a digital inclusion New York Innovation Fund. Keep your fingers crossed for us for that. Next, please. So here is when we will work in some hands-on activities. And so I would love it if you would pull up your tablet or your phone and go to the site. And I have an extra phone here that anybody can use if you don't have access. And I also have a laptop. I would just love it if you would go to the website and try to find something that will help you, or if you work with faculty, help your faculty meet their objectives. So if you go to the suny.edu/EMTECH and figure out what is an objective that you want your learners to achieve, and see if you can find a tool that will help you meet that need. And I will bring this up. And is there anybody that would like to use a laptop as compared to a phone? I'm happy to let you use this.
How do you have them organized? Like, how do you decide what's one and what's 599? Is it by popularity or views or?
What is your question again?
Sorry.
Oh, they originally come out as randomized.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of good, but it's also kind of bad. So it's good because you're exposed to things you might not have known about, but it's bad. I was actually talking to our programmer just recently that if you leave the page and then come back, you get another random, and you might say, "Oh, I wanted to look at that next one." So if there's anybody that's using a phone that would like to see on a bigger screen.
Sure.
Help yourself. And as questions have come up, please ask and share what you're finding or even what you are thinking. My objective is this. I want my students to do such and such. Here's an assignment that my students do.
Robin, can you say something about the e-portfolios, is that a certain technology, or is it just like every person does something different and it's like Google Sites or something?
Yeah, e-portfolios, it's a fancy word for a website that there's many different ways to develop an e-portfolio, either an e-portfolio that documents what you're learning or an e-portfolio to showcase what you've learned. And it's basically just a website. And in our project, as you're going through the MOOC, you're encouraged to develop an e-portfolio, but we stopped having that as a mandatory requirement to complete the course last January. Mainly, we stopped it being mandatory because we couldn't police it enough. And so we just ended up, we made it voluntary. And if you do the e-portfolio, then you submit for a separate badge, and it's much more easier for us to keep an eye on that and they go through a peer review process.
Yeah.
But we do recommend some of the top tools. Google Sites is one of them. But if you're from a campus, I'm from University of Buffalo, and every undergraduate who enrolls at UB is required to have an e-portfolio by the time they graduate. They get introduced to it in their freshman year. They're required to collect artifacts, part of their work process through their 4 years at UB. And then in the 4th year, they're enrolled in a 1 credit hour course where they pull that all together and produce an e-portfolio. I remember I created portfolios as I was a student, and I remember handing it in for admission to grad school, and they didn't even look at it. But just knowing that I had it was an extra point in my favor. So e-portfolios are another technology that I think are evolving, not totally embraced, but
Anybody on the Fact 2 committee for e-portfolios and assessments? So
good. Current running committee?
yeah, the current committee, yeah.
Make sure you point to the MOOC for choices. And we always definitely say if your campus has an institutional e-portfolio platform, we recommend that first. For the very beginning, UB had Digitation as its recommended portfolio platform. And so for the first 3 years, we were able to also give free Digitation accounts through the project. But then when UB quit using Digitation, they pulled our free access as well. But that actually turned out really good, because now that people have freedom of choice, we see so much more creativity in the portfolios that are created. Is that chat a question for me? I see a chat there to Nicole or somebody sharing.
Oops. Give me a minute. I have to unshare. There we go. Nope, we're good. We're good.
Questions? What have you found? Anything interesting? Anything you've been looking for that's not in there that you can add for us? Or an assignment that you use that you?
Why is it called the pedagogy wheel instead of pedagogy wheel? It's not a typo. Honestly.
No, yeah, it's not a typo, and it's one of the more popular ones.
But what is
PAD? I think it was originally developed for an iPad.
Oh, okay.
I never even thought that question. But that pedagogy wheel that Gina is talking about is one of the very popular tools. And what that does is it organizes the tools based on the Bloom's taxonomy and also the SAMR. And since you mentioned it, the MTech team has a wonderful presentation coming up on June 21st and 22nd with the originator of the SAMR model. So if you look, okay, welcome. If you just do a Google search for, through Arizona State University, ASU Space Camp, coming up on June 21st, you'll see us there again with the Ruben Pentadera, who's a great philosopher, kind of thinker.
Great observatory there.
Yes. Questions, comments? What are you finding? Or what might you use in your teaching?
I find that looks kind of interesting. I try to do case studies,
Mm-hmm.
so that looks like I'm always trying to figure out how to make those interactive.
Yeah, Twine is a great platform to make little interactive, kind of choose your own adventure game paths. Yeah, that's really nice. And Chris, I think with GIS, you just the the ability to look for visualizing data, that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
One of the night labs has where you can put up a photograph, and then it has a slider in the middle of the photo. Before the hurricane, after the hurricane,
Yeah, right.
kind of, so you can see the before and after. And just putting that in your presentation helps the students visually see the differences before and after.
Yeah, I saw this cool timeline application that's in here, so you can like make these historical timelines. I've been doing a lot of digital humanities stuff lately. It's pretty cool. It's a different kind of visualization.
Yep, timelines are very useful. Okay, how are we doing on time here?
Very good. 25 minutes.
25 minutes? Okay. Keep searching if you'd like. We're going to go on, so try to listen with half an ear if you can. Nicole, can you go to the next slide, please? So here we have some examples. Nicole is going to kind of start us out talking about some of the tools that she's used. Go ahead, Nicole.
Sure. So I like to always take a look at what modality you can use any of your technology tools in, because I think that really kind of showcases their ability. And I always tell people, you're not finding a tool and then coming up with a reason to use it. You have a reason, and now you need to find an emerging technology tool that best supports what it is that you're trying to do. So this past year, I've migrated away from using my LMS system for formal assessment, and I've been using Edpuzzle. It's really nice because it helps out with community, helps out with collaboration. You can use it face-to-face, a remote, a blended, a fully online course. You're able to either curate videos that are already in the Edpuzzle system, or
we have a couple questions here that came up.
I don't actually have a question. I was just going to give the analogy that I give that supports what she just said. And what I tell my faculty when I'm working with them is when you walk into Home Depot, you don't go and randomly pick a tool off the shelf and say, okay, what am I going to build with this screwdriver? And so exactly what she said.
I never heard that with the Home Depot analogy. I'm stealing it.
You got it. You walk into Home Depot and say, I'm building a birdhouse. Which tools do I need? And that sometimes helps them understand that's really what these are. They're tools. The curriculum comes first. So I just wanted to share that with you that, I agree with you 110%.
Great, thank you. And Gina, did you also have a question or comment?
Well, I was just going to disagree because a lot of times I come across a tool and I'm like, oh, I could use this in this course. And I believe the creative process goes both ways. I don't believe it's unidirectional. So when we present, especially in K-12, and it's not the best way for ed tech, it's like, hey, administration bought XYZ tool, and here's a lot of ways to, you can use it. Well, then you put the responsibility on educators to say, okay, find ways to integrate it. I'm sorry about that. But it's not a great tech model in development, but that's a lot of what happens is that you're like, hey, here's this, we invite faculty and higher ed, hey, come learn about this thing. And then it's up to you to figure out. So but you shouldn't
let the tool push your pedagogy in directions that it wasn't going to go.
No, I know.
think is what we're trying to say.
Thing, but I believe we've evolved beyond that now, and there's so many innovative ideas out there that I didn't want to cause a storm, so I put my hand down. But I just think the creative process goes both ways.
That's very true. Very true. Thanks.
And I agree with you on that, Gina. But I also think that a lot of people will go in and take a tech tool and say, I'm going to use it for this. And it's one thing to say it's not necessarily designed for that, but there's the creativity process. It's quite another thing to say that I'm going to force it into work. And I think that we find, especially in the K-12, they buy a product and say, and now you're using this with no guidance of why and how. And there's no directive.
And that's where the critique comes in for poor technology professional development, where it's not sustained. I don't like the one-shot model, and that's where in my program we are training tech coaches, so that's who's graduating, and their philosophy is to have continual support. So if we're rolling out a new tool for the, maybe now we're becoming a one-to-one school, with laptops this year. Well, that's a lot of professional development that entire school building needs so they're not just pulling out the laptop to play, video games to pass the time. So they're using it constructively in the meeting. So I completely agree with you.
So getting back to this, Edpuzzle was really nice because you can either use canned videos that are already existing, you can integrate them in from YouTube, or you can create your own. So it's really nice. You can make a quick little video, and I teach physics, so to be able to do a work problem where I'm sharing out steps along the way, stop, embed a quick question for the students, and then keep going with it. Now you have an opportunity to not so formally assess the students, but just kind of guide them to make sure, okay, I think I know what's going to go on next, what actually is going on. And then certainly you can use that in a grading system. Padlet's a great resource, and I like to use ones that are free or extremely low cost, and more importantly, super simple to use. It's wonderful for storyboarding. I happen to use it for COIL, where it's easily accessible by both parties. From international students, we're able to do icebreakers. You're able to upload text, audio, video, any sort of files. So there's a lot of flexibility with that. I've used it for training. If anyone went to the Innovative Assessment Symposium in April, we had a 4-week challenge, ran the entire platform off Padlet. It's used for storyboarding, but there's so many different applications. And what I love about it is, like I said, super simple to use. And I do implore you, if you are going to use any tool, any technology tool, teach the students how to use it first. Don't be the person that just assigns it. Make sure you're always teaching the students how to use it. So if you go to my Padlets, the first thing that'll show up is how to use Padlet. Just a very quick little brief introduction. It doesn't have to be separate, but if you're handing it out as an assignment, or you're embedding it into your LMS system, or even just on whatever page it happens to be, make sure that you're showing the students how to use something. For creativity, I don't know if Chris is still here, but she has a great little video she did for her students on Powtoon, where she's introducing herself to the class. It's cute for animations. It's nice because you can get a short little video clip included into any system, LMS system, or if you're just using it for different projects. Again, gives the students a lot of ideas to be creative. 360 video using Google Street View. I'll let Robin talk about that. Wonderful example.
Yeah, so many people have a smartphone, and Google Street View is an app that you can download from the Play Store or the Apple Store, and you can then take a 360-degree video. So if you're at a place where your students are not able to be, you can make it an immersive environment or a tour and bring that back to your students, or even just a campus tour. Zotero is another example of a free tool that allows you to create a scholarly database. So our campus at UB has EndNote, and they pay for that for students while they're in as a student at UB. When they're gone, they're not going to have that resource. Zotero is very similar to EndNote. I feel it has an even better, easier learning curve. I've been collecting a Zotero library for 10 years, and when we get together and co-write an article, Shufang or with Nicole, I can go in, I can look at my Zotero timeline, and I can see when we collaborated on an article, and we can share those same PDF files, annotate them, take our notes, and put them into the paper that we're writing. So just a few examples of some of the things that we found through the wiki that we use.
Sorry, this one 360 degrees video, you can download it from the app. Is that what you said?
Yes. So actually, you would look for Google Street View on the App Store. That's the name of the app that allows you to take the 360. Okay, next, please. So MTech is an open educational resource. We created it so that anybody can pick it up and take the programming and reuse it in any way, take it to your campus, or you can just go to our site and use it as is and let us do the programming behind the scenes. But it's also used to create open educational resources. So if you're creating videos for your students, you can make those into a shareable resource. We talk about what Creative Commons is, so you can learn what are the 5 different levels of Creative Commons so that I can teach my students when they're sharing things, what they're giving up and what they're keeping. It's great for career centers, for student success initiatives, and faculty professional development. We've seen many cohorts. So go back to your campus and say, okay, we're going to start up a cohort. We're going to meet weekly on Tuesdays during lunch. Bring a laptop, come to the central location, and we'll learn together. And as you're learning, you're comparing notes and learning from each other. Next, please. Okay, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Glad you could squeeze us in. Chris is going to talk a little bit about the impact that MTech has had. And Nicole, can you click on the link and bring us to that impact webpage as Chris talks us through it?
Can everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, thank you. So the wonderful thing about MTech is that, well, we've reviewed many wonderful things about MTech, but when we look specifically at impact and statistics, we had this incredible ability to scale up kind of flawlessly during the pandemic, and our registrations and our learners really increased exponentially at the beginning of the pandemic. And it was wonderful that we had a system available to help with that. So the total number of badges issued, 3,372, 85% shared via LinkedIn, 6% via Facebook, 4% on Twitter, and 5% via other. I'm sorry, Nicole, can you scroll down a little bit? Thank you. This is a non-scientific mapping, but as Robin mentioned earlier, we have over 30,000 learners worldwide, and you can see the true span across the globe. We have participants from over 150 countries, and yes, that wonderful SUNY globe, that is those of us who are in New York in our state system. We have a participant breakdown a little further down. So to show you how it really is truly a broad audience, we have 17% are students, and in there are my own students. I am one of the people who has adapted parts of the MOOC for their class, instructors such as myself and Nicole. Those employed within academia, not as an instructor, so kind of non-classroom. Employed outside of academia, we have another 27%. And also we are able to reach out to the population that's currently not employed. So it's kind of an even distribution between instructors, those within academia who are not instructors, those outside of academia, and then we have a little bit of a split with the currently not employed and the students. So we ask a lot of questions. We do a post survey after your participation, and we ask, to what extent did participating help you gain strategies to enhance lifelong learning habits? And 75% said quite a bit or very much. 14% said some. Only about 10% said not at all or very little. And I think, I mean, clearly I'm partially biased here, but I think part of that also has to do with, you know, you get out of it what you put into it, right? The next question we have posted, how did it enhance your ability to use emerging technologies? And over 3/4 of our learners felt that it did indeed enhance their ability, positively influencing their feelings or their comfort level towards technology. Again, overwhelmingly positive, that it did quite a bit or very much. And would they recommend the course to friends and colleagues? And I know those of us on the MTech team are part of the 89% who overwhelmingly state yes.
And I get one more. Oh yeah, many people, even after doing the entire MOOC, they will come back. They will use that
Yes.
as a resource, and that's what we hope.
Yeah, so overwhelmingly the majority of participants come back to continue using the wiki. And I know Nicole, Robin, myself, Cherie, we're all in the wiki all the time looking for tools and resources for things that we are doing, as well as to add more materials to it.
And we have one more item on there. Yeah. And,
Yeah. And then we, oh, go ahead, Robin, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
To what extent did receiving digital badges add value to your experience? And again, a majority felt that adding that receiving a digital badge did add to their experience. 58%, quite a bit or very much, and another 17%, at least some. And we asked the same question in regards to earning the Coursera certificate. I know for many of us, we need that evidence for our professional development. And so again, over 2/3 felt that earning the Coursera certificate, it was quite a bit or very much.
Great for promotion, just fun to have.
Can you go back to our slides again, Nicole? I think the next slide has our map on there. So this grows so quickly. I updated this, and now we're even close to 32,000. Any day now, we'll be going over that. So that was March 5th. We were at 31,000. And the bigger dots show, we've had some activity in Singapore, India, quite heavy, Mexico. We always try to target New York, so New York is the biggest circle there. But in Singapore, it's really interesting. I could see the cohort model in place. Somehow the word of the project was introduced to their civil service, firefighters, police, EMTs, and I could just see tons of the trainers in those units using the tool and creating the e-portfolios. Oh, I learned how to create a video of, doing this, headlock or whatever, for the purpose of training the Singapore, reserves. So that was really great. Next, please. So if you can please share info with colleagues at your campus, with fellow faculty, with your administrators. We are happy to do a presentation similar to this. Either we can do it in a 10-minute stint, we can do an hour and a half for a hands-on workshop. If you go to the MTech site under the About menu, you will find all kinds of information to share. There's a 1-minute video that tries to tell the story that we just did in a little bit over an hour. There's flyers that you can hand out. There's these little business cards, all kinds of good stuff to share. And next. And we need your help. Please share information about MTech. We would love to have you contribute new tools and resources or improve the resources that we have up there already. Anybody that completes the project is invited to become a fellow. As a fellow, you are asked to be a supportive voice in the community. So when people are sharing, I just learned how to use Canva. Here's the poster I created for my Maker Faire. Then the fellows are there saying, oh, that's great. Did you also know that Pixlr will help you crop that image so that it's not so, it's better composition? Or as an MTech fellow, you would earn it as additional badge. And I've been on this project for about 10 years here at SUNY, CIT. It's like, oh yeah, there's a fellow, there's a fellow, there's a fellow. I love seeing that. And to see the presenters as they're doing webinars saying, yes, and I am a SUNY MTech fellow. Very, very heartwarming. We would love to have more researchers. We've been collecting data for 10 years. We have qualitative data, we have quantitative data. We need people to help us make sense of all the data we have. So if you are trying to publish and you would like to access some of the de-identified data, and we will work with you, we would love that. And most importantly, we need additional grant writers. So if anybody has any, special skills with grant writing, we need that the most. Click on the link on the website for our call for partnerships, or just contact me directly. We'd love to talk more. Next slide. I think we'll have a minute or two for questions. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes for questions or comments. Any thoughts, ideas on how you might use it?
There's going to be a lot of resources in there to take through it. I'm sort of surprised I hadn't heard of it before. It's like there was no dispersed on campus.
Yeah, in which campus?
GCC.
Yeah, it's really hard. Even just me at UZ, it's hard to get the word just at my own campus. And we try. I think we've for 10 years we've had a presentation at CIT, and hopefully the people that learn should be bringing it back to your campus. But it's really hard. Actually, one of the sessions that UB just organized is a recap of CIT. We're gonna have myself and the other folks from UB just on a Zoom call talking about what we learned. So if anybody's interested, go to our site and join us there. There's a lot of other sessions, but yeah, it's really hard to get the word out. That's why we are asking for your help. I have a ton of cards. I'm happy to give you a stack of them to take with you. You can give them to your colleagues, but they're also printable from the website. But talk to whoever it is that does get that word out on your campus and find out about getting a program together. Other ideas, questions, comments? Yes.
Well, one thing I just want to share is I started in my role as instructional technologist doing a monthly newsletter for faculty. It's called Faculty News, and the same thing goes out under the title Adjunct News, because having been an adjunct and working with adjuncts, they don't read the emails. They don't kind of do anything but teach. And so one month I decided to find out some technologies people were using, and I knew Kahoot because I use that, and some others. One faculty member used, she was an adjunct, Discord. And so people just started telling me, and so that was one of my little things. And I put like a little quote from each instructor who said they used it and whatnot. And I got more positive feedback from that faculty news that month than I got all year long. And so I am so excited about what I learned today, because this just takes it one step further, because I know they're looking for, and they don't have the time to go find out what there is out there and how to use it and what to use.
And then they're in the Home Depot store and seeing how it goes, and they say, "Oh, look at that cute birdhouse. I wonder what tools will help me create that." And so I'm gonna use that over and over again. Any other thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the that great kind of digest of the surveys that we're taking.
The infographic, yeah.
And Nicole sort of mentioned this in passing that what's the motivation for somebody to go and do this badge? And I think about as part of being a department chair or a dean, a person that would want to see some evidence that people actually learn something rather than just sort of like passively puttering around. And I was wondering, is that something you ever think about doing? Like, from the, you can convince the faculty, but the people that really make a difference are these like administrators that will convert that into action.
Not 100% sure I understand what the question is behind.
Well,
rephrase the question.
So how could you get a dean to like say, whoa, let's start getting these badges, because this is actually evidence that people
I
learn
asked my
something.
dean, didn't know what it was, so I
Yeah.
replied to my email. And I was like, okay. 'Cause
Now,
I
do you
knew-
want the dean to get the badge, or you want the
No,
dean
no,
to
no,
encourage
to
faculty to get the badge?
to recognize that
Okay.
all the work
That's
that you
it.
put into doing it in the
My
first
Yeah,
place.
department
okay.
chair and my dean, I was like, hey, I'm doing micro credentials. Well, I'd like to assign my digital badge and make it a micro credential. They don't know anything when I'm talking about. They don't know the difference between just badging and then verifying it through a micro credential platform. And I know does it compete with, their transcripts and the validity of their degree. I'm like, no, it's like building their resume. It's like adding to it. It's making it more robust.
Evidence
So
of
like,
skills.
hey, I graduated from SUNY blankety blank with a BA in such and such. Plus, I have 15 micro credentials that are evidence that I can do all these other amazing things. So hey, I'm a better candidate than just somebody who's just presenting just a diploma now.
Right.
And so my portfolio has kind of a little story about what I'm interested in, right? Looking at what badges did I spend time learning. And I guess, the department chairs or the deans, they are interested. Our School of Nursing would require so many professional development activities throughout a year, and they wanted to see evidence of that. So they would give them the digital badges. I've had faculty write to me and say, I went through MTech or I went through TOEP and I'm going up for tenure now. Can you help me find out where my badges are? So I'll dig them back out and start, just point to the private site and say, log in, there they are.
I see.
Absolutely. If you're in the promotion ranks, to be able to go to your dean and to say, I know from my campus, from Nassau, we used to love our paper certificates. That doesn't have a lot of meaning behind it. It's a paper certificate and it says you did this at this time. But did you really? To be able to say I have a digital badge, There's a competency behind it. There's metadata behind it. You're not just saying, I went, I showed up, I actively participated, I'm knowledgeable about these skills, I'm provable in these skills, and now I can share it out, not just with my promotion committee, but with the entire world. And you'll start seeing more and more faculty are going to start collecting digital badges. I mean, I'm a full professor. I don't need them. I hoard them. I mean, I'm a proud hoarder. I have 75 plus just from the past 3 years. And any opportunity to say, yes, I can go, I can learn, I can show, but more importantly, I can share out my skill set. That's huge.
One more question.
Actually, it's more of an addition to what your comment was. Having worked in basically everything from preschool to higher ed, I have run across multiple administrators, and I have found over the years that I think administrators need to be educated in the sense that professional development is important.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason most specifically for educators that it's important is because our students are constantly changing, and it doesn't matter the age of the student. And they could be 8, they could be 80, it doesn't matter. But I find that educators and overall, and there's always exceptions to this, but we are one occupation where we get a degree, we start working, and that's it. If we are a self-learner, we will continue to learn. And many people that you see at these conferences and you see online and you hear from, they're self-learners. They're not necessarily motivated by their administrators. So I think we as learners need to start educating our administrators to tell them and to share with them what it is that we're talking about and why it's so important for us to learn and for us to continue to learn, and that professional development is something that's important and should be required. Oh, don't use the required word on purpose. Okay. Required, mandated, no, those are
engaged in the conversation. If they won't even respond to your email or even ask a follow-up question like, well, tell me more. Well, what is your plan? Or, what project did you do? Or, hey, let's set a time.
That's why I think the very first module is the heaviest of the 5 modules. And that's all about lifelong learning.
Yeah.
How do we help people become in the mindset of a lifelong learner?
Yeah.
You're not going to learn these tools and be done with it. You're going to learn how to find your tools for yourself.
And you're not going to stick with one tool, and you said that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to continue to change, and we should change because our students are changing.
And it's not all going to be in the learning management system.
No.
There's things that it doesn't do.
But see, that's I think one of maybe the trials or the burdens of being an innovative educator and a techie, because you're disrupting education, and in our mindset, we're disrupting it for the better and for improvement. Mm-hmm. But it makes everyone else nervous, and everyone else wants to step back and I don't want to, be accountable that I said, yeah, you can go do that, and explode it in her face or something. So it's such a challenge because I do things differently in my courses than somebody else does, and my students are showing blah 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 blah, and they're amazing, and they're
your classroom probably isn't quiet, and you're not seated in rows.
No.
And I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but
that's wonderful. Yeah, when
that
my
makes
walked in and
administrators nervous. What is she doing in her
Well,
class?
that's why I would shut my door when I was a K-12 teacher, because we were making noise and we were talking and working and doing things, and being busy. And so it's really hard because you're making everyone else look bad. And I've worked on campuses where that doesn't help for TMP when you're doing things and students are loving you and want to take your courses and
your colleagues' class.
Yeah,
I would love to continue this conversation.
Yeah.
Please find me wherever I am, and happy to talk to you.
Let's conclude and give Robin a big round of applause, and also Nicole, Chris, and Sheree. Thanks so much. And we can carry on the conversation. And just a reminder, there's coffee and sugar, like a sugar fix in the, what do they call it? The nucleus over there where we checked in. So thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you. Chris, Sheree, see you guys later.